Well, there's reaction on both sides of the aisle tonight after a military jet shot down a suspected spy balloon from China. The balloon fell into waters off the Carolina coast, and residents there were urged not to touch any of the debris that washes ashore. Here's Christian Benavides.
Residents who live along the Carolina coast received instructions from the Myrtle Beach Police Department if they spot remnants from the suspected Chinese spy balloon. It was shot down Saturday by a U.S. fighter jet.
Contact us right away. This is obviously a federal investigation. We don't want to tamper with any evidence. We want to call law enforcement right away so that we can secure that and turn that over to the proper authority.
The balloon was brought down Saturday afternoon, about 6 nautical miles from Myrtle Beach.
All of a sudden, you seen the balloon just go, and the top of it was just like confetti, and the bottom of it just like slumped like a balloon, like you would see like somebody's parachute or something that didn't do right.
Senators will get a briefing on the balloon and China's surveillance capabilities as early as this week, according to Majority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Now we can collect the equipment and analyze the technology used by the Chinese Communist Party.
While Democrats offered support for President Biden's decision to shoot down the balloon, Republicans criticized the timing of the military maneuver. The Defense Department says President Biden gave his authorization Wednesday to bring it down, but military officials decided it was too risky for those below until it drifted out to sea.
He allowed a full week for the Chinese to conduct spying operations over the United States, over sensitive military installations, exposing not just photographs, but the potential of intercepted communications.
The balloon passed over 11 states.
And that was Christian Benavides reporting. China released a statement that says it strongly disapproves of and protests the downing of the balloon, which it called a civilian airship that was gathering meteorology research.